Binging is a common symptom for most people at one point or another, myself included. Now, I'm not a doctor or a psychologist or anything like that. I'm just a guy here making YouTube videos trying to help others get to their fitness goals via diet, nutrition, workout videos, etc. And with that said, I want to share with you how myself and tons of my clients have been able to ultimately help prevent and lower the chances of binging. Hey, what's good YouTube? It's your boy John Mango and I'm back again repping Beyond the Iron, where I drop weekly fitness content on this channel. Like I mentioned, to help you get to those fitness goals faster and more enjoyably. So if you are interested in doing so, which you probably are if you're here, hit that subscribe button below. At the end of the video, I want to share with you something very powerful about some of the habits you can implement to make sure that you lower the chance or ultimately almost eliminate binging altogether. I'm going to share that with you at the end of the video. So one thing I want to mention before we get started is I think that one of the biggest issues when it comes to binging is people's judgment of themselves when they binge. Like I mentioned, we're all human. We all will have some times, right? Even the fittest people on the planet have times where they overindulge. But the key is to minimize that and obviously make sure that it doesn't become a habit or a pattern of behavior. We're gonna come back to the pattern of behavior thing in a sec, but the important thing is this. If you binge, right, it's not something that you can ultimately eliminate for the rest of your life. Understand that it may happen again every now and then. The point is that you have control most of the time when you need to, so you're ultimately moving forward. Again, just don't judge yourself if you do end up binging, because it happens to me sometimes till this day. In order to actually start to fix a binging issue, and of course this is if you have this issue repeatedly, typically at least once a week for multiple weeks at a time, or just ongoing, right? Even multiple times in the week. Now the key thing here is people try to fix binging by just stopping the binging, and don't get me wrong, one of the powerful tactics I want to offer you is to eliminate the food that you binge on altogether. If you have it in the house and you find yourself every Friday night at 8 p.m. binging on that food, then yes, it can be very powerful and very easily effective to simply remove it, get it out of the environment. Now with that said, sometimes it may not be a food that you have in your house. Sometimes it's any food that you have in your house. Sometimes it's a place where you go. Sometimes it's at your workplace, etc., right? The key there is it's not always that simple. Instead, the best thing you can do to start eliminating and stopping that habit is by analyzing the pattern of behavior. And what I mean by that is determining why you're binging in the first place, right? So this is going to create awareness. So for example, sometimes and a lot of times people binge because they become stressed. Okay, so that's great. You understand, I'm stressed, therefore I binge. Now, what's the root cause of that stress? Maybe it's a particular situation. Maybe it's at a particular time. If so, you need to find this out, figure out the root of the problem. Solving the root of that problem is ultimately going to solve the binging. Instead of trying to solve it on the surface, you need to get into the root of the problem and solve that. So for example, one of my clients in the past had troubles with her relationship. She was in a detrimental relationship that constantly caused her to be stressed, and she found herself binge eating because of that. Obviously, it's a lost cause at this point to try to just tell her, oh, eliminate the food, oh, try, this tactic, oh, try intermittent fasting, etc., etc. But rather, painful conversation or confrontation had to be that, look, this relationship may not be serving you. And of course, it's not always a relationship. Whatever is causing that stress that always causes you to binge as a result is what you need to fix. So what I want to offer you is this. If you're having trouble figuring out exactly why you're binging, that's what we need to do first. And the best way to do this is to simply keep a tally of when and how you binge. What food do you binge on? What time do you binge on? And after what sort of event? Or is it a consistent time every week, right? Or every day? Maybe every day at lunchtime you binge. I remember I had this issue for a bit that it was always lunchtime. I would just go on a huge binge. And understanding that and taking note of it and seeing the events around it that could potentially be the cause for it gives you awareness. It gives you things that you can now start to change, manipulate, and play around with until you figure out the correct variable that's going to help you with the binging. So I'll give you an example, and this is another tactic you can implement. The one that helped me with my binging was I realized that I was eating my breakfast a little too early on in the day, and therefore by the time lunchtime came around, even though I had all of my meals planned, I was so hungry at lunchtime that just eating that lunch that I had set for myself wasn't enough to satisfy myself, and it got me thinking, you know what, I'm probably fine if I eat a little bit more. It's not a big deal. I'm not full. And I started letting my instinct be like, you know, you're not full. It's not a big deal if you have a little more. And that inevitably led down the death spiral of binging. And this happened every single day for a few weeks. And so obviously it took me realizing this and starting to manipulate the timing window. So this may be one of the reasons you binge. You find that you're very, very hungry. And I agree, a lot of people binge for that reason. So one of the reasons is stressful situations and emotional eating. Another one is they're just too damn hungry, and so once they catch a glimpse of a food or any sort of tasty food or any food that they enjoy, they go overboard. And so for that reason, it could be powerful to play with eating windows. So in my case, what I did was I pushed my breakfast back by an hour and I brought my lunch forward by an hour. All I had to do was put those meals closer together, and it kept me full in between those meals. And that way, when lunchtime came around, I wasn't super hungry, I got satisfied quicker, and I stopped binging. Another tactic I want to offer you, let's say you go to work and you're always binging at work because they've always got these treats, right? Or they're always bringing something in. It's always somebody's birthday or whatever the case may be. If that's the case, I would urge you to set up some sort of incentive for you to stick to your diet and not binge, right? Sometimes it's powerful enough just to cultivate the strong reason why you're doing something, replaying it over and over, affirming it over and over to the point where the chances of you binging are not there. Just understand that, look, binging is something that your body is trying to force you to do, right? Your brain is playing a trick on you. If you can understand, look, if you know that lunchtime's coming around and I always binge on those donuts that are gonna be there, go into it with the reason, why should I not binge? Why do I need to not binge? Obviously, there's plenty of consequences that are serious to your health and to your emotional, mental health that are associated with binging. And so remind yourself that you're gonna be more powerful and you're not gonna binge. Now it sounds simple. Oh, you know you're gonna binge, just don't do it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying make sure you have an incentive. Sometimes it might even help to put money on the line or to have somebody to hold you accountable, right? These kinds of things, or to switch up the routine. If you always walk to lunch at this time, maybe stop, go for a walk around the block, or just change the routine, and you're going to stop that pattern of behavior dead in its tracks. The next strategy I want to offer you is something I preach, and again, a very powerful thing that my clients and myself use to reduce binging altogether, and that's flexible dieting. Look, ultimately, if you're following restrictive dieting, if you're just trying to eliminate foods, eliminate carbs, that kind of stuff, if you're just trying to fast forever, all these things are going to increase your chance of binging because adherence is low. You're not enjoying yourself. You can't enjoy the foods that are going to inevitably be surrounding you at all times, especially in the world we live in today. And it's just not a practical approach. So what I offer you is, like I always say, prep your meals for the day. If you're always eating out and you always go to Tim Hortons with some coworkers or whatever the case is, start by prepping that meal. That way when you go to Tim's, guess what? You have the meal that you cooked, that you spent money on, that you're not going to not eat in that moment, and that's going to stop you from buying food out and as a result binging in the end. So that's a very powerful thing. Set up, prep your meals, structure your nutrition, as well as give yourself the flexibility by tracking calories and macros to fit in those 20% foods. One donut. Some people think they can't have any donuts, and as a result they binge on 100 of them, whereas somebody else knows, hey look, I can enjoy one donut and still get to my goals. That increases your chances of actually doing it and not binging at all. And the last one is meal timing. Like I mentioned for myself earlier, I had to play with the eating windows a bit. If you find that you're too hungry after X meal, maybe it's the breakfast time or lunchtime, then what I offer you is to try intermittent fasting. Try pushing your eating windows back so that you're cramming all of your calories in a shorter, smaller window throughout the day. That's going to allow you to eat the same amount of calories but feel more full in the entire day, okay? And of course, in the fasted period, you're gonna have things like maybe black coffee, green tea, sparkling water to hold you over. So ultimately, these are some of the things you can do to severely reduce binging and stop that terrible pattern of behavior dead in its tracks. Ultimately, remember, no matter how much you reduce the chance of it happening, we are all human and it happens to the best of us every now and again. Just make sure that you don't relapse. Stay aware at all times to make sure that you develop the correct habit of not binging, staying on point with your nutrition. Like I mentioned, a few of the tactics that I offered are actual habits like the 80-20 principle and of course meal prepping to allow for that to happen seamlessly. These are 2 of the 4 keystone habits that you need to actually stick to your diet and see results exponentially over time, sustaining those results. If you want to know what the other 2 are, I have a free case study video that I put together just for that reason. So go ahead and click the link below, check out the free case study video to learn the 4 habits you need that will create an ultimate lifestyle to help you not only remove your binging habits, reduce them in the future forever, but help you get results and keep them as well. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If so, hit the like button, comment below whatever else you'd like to see. Don't forget to share with your friends and subscribe because I'm dropping videos every damn week. I'm out. See you in the next one.